Obviously we want to be planting as many trees as we can because of all the environmental benefits, but sometimes a tree is diseased, is dangerous, or it's crowding out another tree that's stopping it from growing. In that case, it's got to come down. The trick is to do it safely, and that's what today's video is all about. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start with a disclaimer. I'm not a professional tree surgeon, so everything I'm telling you here is from personal experience. It's up to you to make sure that you learn to do this safely. Secondly, if you've never used a chainsaw before, then don't start with cutting down trees. Go and do a chainsaw safety course, learn how to use the device properly, and work your way up to this kind of operation. Third thing is, what I'm going to show you is for cutting down small or medium-sized trees. Any large trees, leave that to a professional. Call in a professional tree surgeon and get them to do it right. Don't take the risk. Felling trees is by its nature dangerous, and it's just not worth it. The other thing to consider is the legality of taking down a tree. Here in the UK, you need a license from the Forestry Commission in most situations. There are certain exceptions, like in your own garden you can take down a tree, or if a tree is diseased or dangerous, you're allowed to remove it. Also, there's an allowance of 5 cubic meters per quarter of a year of growing tree that you're allowed to remove, and that allows you to do some thinning of a stand. Any other situation than that, then you have to get a license from the Forestry Commission. Some trees have preservation orders over them, so you can't touch them at all. Also, of course, you need to get permission from the owner if the land isn't yours. So it's really important, wherever you live, to check the laws regarding felling of trees. Anyway, let's get into the video. Okay, so let's have a look at the gear that we're going to need to cut a tree down. First and foremost is the chainsaw. This is a battery-powered chainsaw, which means that there's no fossil fuels used in its use, which is great, nice and sustainable. It's also really handy because it's a small size, and so for small, medium-sized trees, and for taking off branches and things like that, this is absolutely perfect. But it means it's nice and light as well, and I can carry it around the garden. There's a link in our channel profile to all the gear that we use on the smallholding, and so you can go and check that out if you want. But it's from Makita, and it's this replaceable battery system, so you just make sure you have a few of these batteries charged up, and this particular device needs 2 batteries, so you always need to have spares. The key is to keep the chainsaw sharp whenever you're using it, so I sharpen it every time I use the chainsaw, sharpen all the teeth to make sure that it's as efficient as possible with its cutting, and also you have to make sure that the oil level is topped up as well, so that's something that you do each time. Good maintenance of a chainsaw means it lasts much, much longer. The key safety aspect of the chainsaw is the gear brake here, the chain brake, sorry, and so basically that is a sort of physical barrier that you have to pull in every time you actually want to use the chainsaw. To switch the chainsaw off, you just kick that back and then nothing will happen. Other things that we're going to need are a wedge. Sometimes when you're cutting into the tree can sit back slightly and it can pinch the bar of your chainsaw. And you don't want to pull on that because you'll end up bending it or breaking the chain. So what you can do is, if you've got a wedge, with a mallet you can whack that in next to the bar, and that opens a gap up enough for you to be able to pull your chainsaw out. That's really important. Safety gear wise, it's really a key part about it is having a good helmet, which has a visor on it to stop any chips from flying up into your eyes. The helmet obviously protects you if any branches fall off and hit you on the head, and ear protection is also really critical. Less so with a battery-powered chainsaw because they don't make nearly as much noise as a petrol-powered one, but anyway, it's still important to have really good ear protection. And these all-in-one helmets are a great way of sort of covering all 3 of those bases. Aside from the helmet and visor, the most important piece of safety equipment that you've got are these chaps. These are basically over trousers that have chainmail inside them, and they're there to protect you if the chainsaw falls and the blade goes into your leg. It stops your leg from being cut. So these are really important to make sure that what you're doing is safe. I also have steel toe cap boots, and again, that just protects your feet if you happen to drop the chainsaw. All right. Oh, last but not least, gloves. Okay. Time to get cracking. Okay, so this is the tree we need to take down today. Unfortunately, it's completely dead. This is a stand of oak trees, and like many of the trees, it's got squirrel damage where they've removed the bark and gradually it's killed the tree. So this tree will eventually become dangerous and it needs to come down. The first thing that I think about when I'm looking at a tree is what angle is it leaning at? It's almost impossible to fell a tree against gravity, so you want to try and fell it in the direction that it's leaning. You also need an open area ideally that you can fell the tree into, and luckily this area in front just has bramble bushes, so I'm happy for the tree to fall in that direction. So with my cut, I'm going to try and encourage the tree to go in the direction that it's leaning and fall that way. Before I can start felling the tree, I need to be safe in my area. So with the area all around the tree, should something go wrong, I want to be able to get out the way as quickly as possible. So I need to remove anything that might trip me up, like brambles or branches or small saplings or anything like that, anything that could get in my way, so that I know that I'm as safe as possible. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay, so we decided we want the tree to fall in this direction. So the most important thing is that when I'm cutting the tree, I always stand at the side of the tree. Never behind the tree or in front of the tree. Apart from the tree falling on you, the most dangerous thing that can happen when you cut the trunk is that as the tree hits the ground, the branches hit the ground first and push the trunk back, and this flies back and can hit you, and that can be very dangerous. So the key thing is you never stand behind the tree or in front of where the tree is going to fall. I stand to the side, and the way that I cut the tree, I always do all of my cuts perpendicular at right angles to the direction I want it to fall. So I want it to fall in that direction. I'm going to cut always at right angles. The key to cutting a tree safely is by using a special technique where what you're trying to do is to end up with you cutting from either side, but you leaving a small piece called the hinge in the middle of the trunk that allows the trunk to fall over but stops it from jumping back. So as the tree falls over, it's held onto the stump just slightly, and then when it hits the ground, often that hinge will break and the tree will fall over completely. But the idea again is to stop the trunk from catapulting backwards. So to create that effect, what we do is on the front of the tree we cut a horizontal cut a third of the way into the trunk, and then we come down at an angle so that we remove a wedge at the front of the tree. Because we're only cutting in a third of the way, it doesn't really destabilize the trunk at that point, so you're still fairly stable, but you just have to take care. Once we've done that, we then cut another horizontal cut, but it's a back cut this time, from the back of the trunk, about a ½ an inch to an inch above our front cut, and we slowly cut into the back of the trunk and gradually get towards what we're calling that hinge, the center of the trunk of the tree. What I'm hoping is that at a certain point the tree will move ever so slightly, and at that point I'm going to stop, pull everything out, and just check how things are. So we're ready to do our cut. The most important thing is that I check the entire area to make sure there's no people or no animals anywhere nearby, because once I get started, the tree can fall. Now obviously I'm hoping it's going to fall in the direction that I'm intending it to, but it might not. And it's really important that I'm aware and I can get away from the tree as quickly as possible. This tree unfortunately is a little bit trapped by branches from surrounding trees, so I think probably what will happen is it won't fall over on its own and I'll have to give it a bit of a push. But as soon as I see it starting to move, then I'm going to stop and just check how things are at that point. Okay, let's get started. Success! Yep, as expected, the tree got stuck on the branches above it, but that's okay. It was good and stable, it didn't feel dangerous, and I just had to give it a bit of a push and make sure I got out of the way. Okay, so there you have it, how to take down a small tree safely. The key is, of course, being aware of your surroundings, looking out for people and animals at all times. Make sure your working area is tidy so that you can get away quickly. Think safety all the time and use that technique where you create a notch at the front of the tree and then a slightly higher level on the back. You cut in from the back, so you're always leaving that safety hinge in the middle, and then hopefully gravity will start to move the tree, you can move out the way and the tree will fall. Or in my situation here, if you're a little bit stuck on other trees, just carefully push the tree and the tree should fall in the direction you want it to do. Just be aware of what happens with the base of the trunk and where it goes. Just think safety at all times. I hope you found this useful, and if you want to see more future-proof material all about us being a bit more sustainable in our life, being a bit more self-sufficient, then why not watch this video next? Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more stuff, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.